Welcome to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking to get a real handle on things, to go deep, but without getting totally swamped, right?
Exactly. And today, we're digging into something pretty compelling. The battlefield at Gettysburg.
A place famous for its history, obviously, but also, well, there are whispers, aren't there? Could it actually be haunted?
It's a question that just seems to hang in the air there. I mean, you think about it, this relatively small area in Pennsylvania, 3 days, roughly 50,000 casualties, Union, Confederate, it's almost hard to comprehend that concentration of human experience.
All that courage, fear, loss, just packed into one spot.
Right, and that intensity, that sheer emotional weight is something historian Mark Nesbitt talked about.
Ah, yeah, his theory about residual energy.
Exactly. The idea that maybe, just maybe, the volume of emotion poured out there, young soldiers facing death, thinking of home maybe, it somehow lingers, like an echo, he suggested.
An emotional echo. I like that. It's evocative.
It is, and for this deep dive, we've pulled together a real mix of accounts to, explore that idea.
What kind of sources are we looking at?
Well, we've got experiences from Civil War reenactors, people really immersed in the period.
Okay.
Then stories from regular visitors, people just there to see the site, and even some pretty interesting accounts from folks who worked at Gettysburg College.
Which is right in the thick of it, historically speaking.
Absolutely. So we're trying to get that mix of personal stories alongside the historical context.
So our mission here isn't really to say yes or no to ghosts, is it?
No, not at all. It's more about examining these experiences, these reports, and seeing what they might tell us about the lasting impact of a battle like Gettysburg.
Okay, let's get into it. Where should we start? Maybe with the reenactors.
Yeah, that feels like a good place. They often have such a unique connection, spending so much time in that mindset, in the gear.
Right. Okay, so there's one account, Ray Hawk.
That's the one. Really stands out. He and a friend were out on the battlefield and they encountered this figure.
Dressed in period clothing.
Incredibly authentic. Hawk apparently thought at first, maybe it's another reenactor who somehow got hold of original equipment. Super rare, but possible?
But it wasn't just the clothes, was it?
No. This is the really strange part. Hawk says this figure actually spoke to them and gave him and his friend 2 cartridges.
Actual bullets. But isn't live ammo banned there?
Oh, completely banned. Has been for about a century. But these weren't just any cartridges.
What were they?
They had them looked at later. University expert confirmed it. Genuine Civil War rounds. Vintage, 1863.
Whoa, okay. 1863. And then what happened to the figure?
Just gone. Vanished. As quickly as he appeared.
That's pretty specific. The tangible object, the verified date.
Right. It makes it harder to just brush off. It's not just a feeling or a fleeting shedding. It's a physical interaction with verified artifacts. How do you explain that easily?
You really can't, can you? It definitely makes you pause.
It does.
So, okay, that's a reenactor. What about regular visitors? People not necessarily looking for that kind of thing.
Well, there's the story of Richard Knapp. This was back in '93. He was near Bloody Run Creek.
The name alone tells you something.
It certainly does. Heavy fighting there. Anyway, Knapp describes seeing a figure near the bushes, but not solid.
Not solid. Like
how? We're like a hazy mist, he said. Indistinct. But he got the strong impression this figure was shivering, like it was in agony.
shivering in pain.
Yeah. And the experience apparently hit Knapp really hard. He became incredibly emotional, distressed himself. So much so, he actually needed help getting back off the trail.
Wow, so it wasn't just seeing something, it was feeling something intense from it too.
Exactly. That emotional spillover, that's a theme we see in quite a few accounts. It's visceral. It connects back to the sheer suffering that happened right there at Bloody Run.
And the suffering wasn't just on the field itself, the field hospitals.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Nesbitt, again, he didn't mince words. He called them as close to a descent into hell on earth as you could imagine back then.
You try to picture it. Major surgery, amputations, often with little or no anesthesia, maybe some whiskey if you're lucky.
The pain, the fear, it must have been overwhelming. And one of those makeshift hospitals was set up in Pennsylvania Hall.
Which is part of Gettysburg College now.
Right, and there's this really vivid story involving 2 college administrators there. Late one night,
What happened?
they were in the elevator, the doors open on a floor, but not to the hallway they expected.
What did they see?
They described seeing, well, basically a Civil War hospital scene laid out before them, wounded soldiers.
No way.
And they mentioned this powerful, awful smell, the stench of a hospital, as Nesbitt quotes them.
Ugh.
And they saw an orderly who apparently turned and looked right at them, just stared with this desperate, pleading look.
Like asking for help.
That was the impression. And then slam. The elevator doors just closed and it was gone. Normal hallway.
That's chilling. What did the college authorities make of that?
Well, this is interesting. The chief of security at the time, Teeman Lynn, he went on record saying he personally didn't believe in ghosts, a skeptic.
Okay.
But he also said these two women were absolutely credible, reliable people he knew well. He admitted something clearly happened that deeply affected them, even if he couldn't explain it logically.
So even the skeptic acknowledged the sincerity of the experience. That adds weight, doesn't it?
It really does. When someone who doesn't believe says, I don't know what happened, but something happened, you pay attention.
Definitely. And it seems like it's not just these, big visual apparitions either. We heard from listeners with other kinds of experiences too.
Yes, lots of personal anecdotes came in. Adri shared one from around 2012. She was on a ghost tour.
Thereabouts.
The Jenny Wade house. Her sisters were with her, and they heard footsteps. Clear as day, they said.
Footsteps where?
Coming from inside the gift shop bathroom. Apparently, the tour guide wasn't surprised, said it happens a lot. Maybe because that area was built over the old garden.
Possible connection. Did Adri hear them too?
No, interestingly, she didn't hear the footsteps, but she described getting these sudden, intense shivers whenever she stepped off the paved paths, and she said the whole visit left a deep impression. A mark on my soul was her phrase.
So different people, same tour, different experiences. One auditory, one more physical or emotional.
Exactly. It highlights how personal and subjective these things can be.
We also heard from Lisa, who used to live near Gettysburg.
Right. She mentioned seeing a figure near the road once.
What was unusual about
It
it?
just faded away like smoke, she said, dissolved into the air.
Huh. And wasn't there something about her ex-husband too?
Yeah, she said he'd also seen and experienced unexplained things around there. Suggests it might not just be isolated moments, but maybe something more persistent in the area for some people.
Yeah, and there was Deb's story. Cemetery Hill, 2015.
Ah, yes, the sounds. Late night ghost tour again. She and her friend both heard it.
Heard what?
A snare drum. Distinctly. And someone whistling. Sounds completely out of place for that time and location.
A snare drum. Like a military drum.
That was the implication. And apparently her friend actually managed to record the sounds.
They got it on tape.
Seems so. And someone else on the tour later confirmed hearing the same things. Specific sounds like that, especially if recorded, are harder to dismiss as just imagination.
For sure. And Norma's experience involved a photo, right? At Sachs Bridge.
Yes, Sachs Bridge, 2016. She was with family. They waited, she said, until the bridge was totally empty. Took some photos with her phone. And on one photo, there appears to be... Well, she described it as looking like a soldier, looking down at what seemed like a little girl.
But she said no one was there.
She was adamant. No one else on the bridge when she took the picture.
Photos are always tricky, aren't they? Maybe light, shadows.
Oh, absolutely. Pareidolia, seeing patterns, faces where there are none, that's always a possibility. But combined with her certainty that the bridge was empty, it's intriguing. It adds another layer.
It really does. And then there were the smells. Several people mentioned that.
Yes, that was quite striking. Teresa described this persistent, horrible stench like death, she said, all over town on the battlefield.
But others didn't smell it.
Apparently not. No one else in her group noticed anything, which is odd in itself.
And Judith mentioned her mother had a similar experience years before.
Right. Smelled something awful, strange, but didn't say anything, just assumed everyone else could smell it too.
And Norma, the one with the photo, she also mentioned smells.
She did. Said she smelled something like rotten flesh, both on the battlefield and even in the town. She wondered if it was some kind of residual energy or smell.
It's fascinating how smell works, isn't it? So primal, so linked to memory and emotion. A sudden, unexplained bad smell.
Yeah.
That would be incredibly unsettling.
Deeply unsettling. It bypasses your rational mind almost.
Such a variety of experiences. We even had someone, Tia Zobelin, talk about feeling a connection.
Yes, like she'd been there before. A sense of past connection, which she also apparently felt at a Titanic exhibit.
Which opens up a whole different avenue past lives. Deep historical empathy. Who knows?
Exactly. And then there was the comment from LJ, who identifies as blind and living in North Carolina, feeling connected to Confederate soldiers, experiencing thoughts, sensing spirits.
Right. And Jean's idea about some people maybe being empaths,
Yeah.
more sensitive to whatever energies might be there.
It just shows the sheer range of how people experience or interpret unusual feelings or events connected to places like Gettysburg. It's not one size fits all.
But we absolutely have to bring in the skepticism too, don't we?
Crucial. Absolutely crucial.
The source material itself asked, point blank, is it possible these ghostly sightings were simply imagined?
A fair question, and an important one. Psychology, suggestion, environmental factors. They all play a role.
And we can't forget the anonymous commenter who just wrote, what was it, Bull Run.
Yes. Very direct.
A concise summary of the skeptical viewpoint. It's important to remember that perspective is out there and valid.
Completely. Healthy skepticism keeps us grounded, makes us examine the evidence critically, look for conventional explanations first, which you always should.
So wrapping up this deep dive.
Yeah.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground, from that really tangible story about the reenactor in the 1863 cartridges.
Right, through to the visual sightings like the misty figure or the hospital
The
scene.
sounds, the footsteps, the drum, the whistling,
Yeah.
the unsettling smells.
And those powerful emotional responses, the feelings of connection or distress.
Drawing on accounts from reenactors, visitors, college staff. A real cross-section.
Yeah, we've definitely looked at a wide range of first-hand narratives, all suggesting, well, something potentially unexplained might be happening at Gettysburg. Something that seems deeply tied to the sheer intensity of the battle.
The historical significance, the scale of the human tragedy there, it's immense.
Undeniably.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought maybe for everyone listening. Considering everything that happened at Gettysburg, there were the incredible violence, the loss, the fear, the grief, all concentrated in that time and place. Is it really so impossible to think that such profound human experiences could leave, I don't know, an imprint, some kind of lasting trace on the location itself?
The resonance, perhaps.
Yeah, a resonance. Could these stories, these varied experiences we've talked about, be hinting at a connection to the past, to those events, in a way we just don't fully understand yet?
It's certainly a question that lingers, much like the stories themselves, something to think about.